Lastly, Brian Daboll was fired by the New York Giants. Kind of an interesting decision. Yeah, I've been on this for a while. When you're half in and half out, to me, I can't understand it. I can't understand it. And, the Dolphins are kind of doing this. It's one thing if you get rid of the GM, keep the coach. That's one thing, right? I've always supported Mike Macdonald in Miami. He's got some quirks to him. He's kind of a goofball, right? And when you're losing, you're taking the podium and you're doing that, it's not a good look, right? You can get away with a lot when you're winning. Look at Bill Belichick all those years in New England. But when you're losing, it's just it's a tough scene. So I'm kind of split on McDaniel at this point, whether I'd keep him, whether I would get rid of him. That's a conversation for a different day. But Daboll, he came in year one as the Giants guy, kind of had a miracle run there that first year. I believe they were 9-7 with Daniel Jones, and then they beat Kirk Cousins in the playoffs. And then everybody in the organization freaks out. Oh, we got to pay Daniel Jones. Oh, my goodness, we have the next great thing. And obviously that completely blew up in their face. He won, 6 games in year 2 and then 4 games last year. And then they gave him an opportunity here to stick around year 4, and he needed to make a splash, right? And they get Russell Wilson. And it's like, that's not really going to save his job. You need to do something else. They trade up for Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart shows promise. It equates to wins early, Thursday night game against Philadelphia. And then Jackson Dart has shown some things in recent weeks, but it hasn't equated to wins, right? And you look at their schedule, and unfortunately for them, it's a common theme of blown leads, right? You had the game in Chicago, won. You blew it. Had the game in Dallas, won. You blew it, right? Had the game against Denver, won. You blew it. And, that's not a recipe for keeping your job very long if you're a head coach in this league. Part of me, I feel for him, right? Anytime a guy gets fired, you feel for him. He's making millions of dollars. I understand that. But I think there could have been something there, with Jackson Dart and him. Will it stunt Jackson Dart's growth? Maybe. It's a possibility. Say what you want about Daboll as a head coach, but he can flat out coach quarterbacks, call plays. Showed that in Buffalo, showed it at the collegiate level at Alabama as well. He's had success in different areas. He'll get a job as a play caller immediately. Not going to get a job as a head coach right away, but he'll get a job as a play caller if he wants it. And, there's some questions there. It's like, he saw some good things from Dart. Now you're just ripping away his guy. And Daboll fully believed in Jackson Dart. He was banging the table. He wanted Joe Schoen to go up and trade for him. He did. And then ultimately he gets fired. But my biggest issue is not them firing Brian Daboll. It's the fact that they are keeping Joe Schoen, right? Half in, half out. Oh, we'll keep the coach, or we'll fire the coach, we'll keep the GM. The Giants have done this several times, and it doesn't work. They literally have done this multiple times where they fire the coach, they keep the GM. 2 years go by, and it's like, oh, nope, we need to fire the GM too. And then they do the same thing over and over again. Literally has happened multiple times for the New York Giants. I don't understand it. What has Joe Schoen done, right, that is really productive? Has he made a couple of good moves? Yes, right? All GMs, you make a couple of good moves, right? But are we going to sit here and pat him on the back for the Abdul Carter pick, right? That's like sitting there patting Duke Tobin on the back for the Jamar Chase pick. It's a no-brainer, right? I know he got rid of Saquon Barkley. That ain't good. I know he paid Daniel Jones, right? That ain't good, right? I know he's failed to address the kicker position multiple times. They've lost games in the past because they don't have a kicker that can go out there and kick an extra point. That's on the GM, right? So I just don't get this half in, half out. And I think it kind of shows the organization or the fan base really, that they're not serious about winning football games if they're going to keep Joe Schoen employed here at this point. He's going to lead this head coach search. I think if you're going to blow it up, you got to blow the whole thing up, especially if you're going to ruin this relationship between Daboll and Dart, which I think could have been potentially special. And they said, you know what? We're good. Daboll, you're gone, but we're going to keep Joe Schoen here. And I get it, right? For the most part, a GM is going to have better relationship with ownership than the head coach, because the head coach is grinding at all times, right? They're breaking down the film of the previous game and prepping for the next game, and that's what they're doing all throughout the season. The GM, obviously, he's working a lot there as well, but the GM during season, he's up there typically probably in the box with ownership, rubbing shoulders with them, kind of being a PR guy, right? So Joe Schoen is spending a lot more time with ownership than Brian Daboll. Maybe there's a relationship there, and maybe that's why they want to stick him around. But Joe Schoen, to me, has done more bad than good, and candidly, it's not close. And, I think if you're going to strip it down, you got to really strip the whole thing down, right? And move off him there as well. Find a GM, bring him in, and then pair him with the head coach, and then kind of go from there. Because there are pieces on this Giants team. Well, they got 2 wins right now. They should have more than 2 wins, right? Because they've got guys on defense, right? Dexter Lawrence, right? Burns is having a tremendous year. Thibodeau has shown some good things for you there as well. Obviously, got the young pick and Abdul Carter, Malik Neighbors. He's obviously hurt, but he's a really good receiver in the NFL. I didn't think Scadaboo was going to be, an NFL type of back. He's hurt, obviously, but seems like a solid NFL back. And I think you hit on the quarterback there with Jackson Dart as well. So this isn't – you're not the Jets here if you're the Giants, right? You don't need to blow up the whole roster. But I do think if you're going to move on from the head coach, well, you need to move on from the GM there as well. And I think that was a big mistake. And they're going to let him, do this head coaching search, and we'll see. We'll see. And we'll go through some names, in the coming days and weeks about guys that could potentially be the New York Giant head coach. But to me, this is a job that I think a lot of people should want. Right, it's the Giants. It's a proud franchise. Obviously, won a couple Super Bowls with Eli. Past few years have obviously been very, very bad. But again, this isn't the Jets, right? There's more stability and functionality. When you're talking about the Giants, a hot name a lot of people are throwing out there is Mike Tomlin, right? If him and Pittsburgh part ways at the end of this year, I think you're doing everything in your power to bring Tomlin to New York. And I think that would be kind of a good next chapter for him. I think he would fit in well. I think he'd be able to handle the New York media, right? Derek Jeter talks about that all the time. It takes a special guy to, handle the New York media. Derek Jeter did a great job of it. Eli Manning did a great job of it. We'll see if Jackson Dart does a great job of it. But, bringing in a guy like Lane Kiffin was like, I don't know if that's necessarily – like, I get it. The only qualification for Lane Kiffin is that he coached the quarterback of the Giants. Like, that's it. that to me wouldn't be – a great hire at all there from Joe Schoen, who, again, completely ridiculous that he's calling the shots there and making that hire. But Kiffin, he's getting, it's probably great to be Lane Kiffin right now because Ole Miss trying to do everything in their power to keep him. LSU wants him. Florida wants him. And, if you're the Giants and, the Dolphins at the end of this year, I think there's probably some NFL teams that would have interest in him there as well. So a good time to certainly be Lane Kiffin here at this point. But Tomlin's the main name that pops out. By the way, this interim guy, apparently knows what he's doing. He's kind of a younger guy, up-and-coming guy, and, it would be a massive mistake if Joe Schoen if they win a few games here and Joe Schoen's like, yeah, we'll just, we'll promote you as the head coach. That would be a disaster, but we'll see how this interim guy does for the New York Giants. But again, would I have fired Daboll? Probably not, especially at this point, right, mid-season, but, it's New York, it's big, it's, these owners are – they're brash, right? They don't always, sit there. They don't have patience anymore, right? And, these guys are billionaires. It's just kind of a rounding error if they have to fire guys and pay these contracts off. So I probably would have waited and see what he could do with Dart the rest of the way. I get the frustration with all the blown leads, and then probably make a decision after the year. I just think at the NFL level, I don't love always firing coaches before the end of the year. There's sometimes you have to. Urban Meyer in Jacksonville, right? That was a mess. Had to fire him right there. But it's not like college where it's like, oh, we got to restart this thing now. So we have all the people decommit, and then we kind of start the recruiting thing over. It doesn't really work like that in the NFL. I don't know if there's exactly a huge benefit of letting go of Daboll right now, especially when you have a rookie quarterback in Jackson Dart. But I believe in Jackson Dart. Is he going to be a Hall of Famer? I'm not going to get carried away here, but I think can be one of the 32 best quarterbacks on the planet. I do think that is the case. And, a lot on Joe Schoen's plate. He's a lucky man that he is going to hang on to his job here. But, my guess would say that he makes it a year or two, and then they fire him, and then they probably fire the same head coach there. At that point, they kind of keep this thing rolling. But that's the biggest thing to me. I don't get the half in, half out. I don't get the half in, half out, especially when you keep the GM, right, and fire the coach. Don't really understand that whatsoever.